Welcome to Colored Pencil Basics, Part 1, Introduction, Pressure, and Value. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to identify the basic working properties of colored pencils and create value scales by applying different amounts of pressure. Introduction. Colored pencils are a very basic standard tool that artists can use to add color to as dry media to various drawings. We will go over properties and materials which make colored pencils, the ease of use, as well as some care for your colored pencils. We will examine pressure, the variation of pressure, and complete some pressure experiments. And finally, this culminating in a value scale using pressure variation to create specific value scales. Okay, first of all, colored pencils are an easy and great way to use to add color to your work. Colored pencils are really nice to work with. We'll start with just pulling out a few here. And what you're going to notice is they are very similar to regular pencils. They have a lead inside. Now this lead, as it were, as it's called, is actually a wax binder with the pigment, the powdered pigment in there to give us some color and some staying power on the paper. Okay, they're really easy to use. We've been working with these kinds of tools, a regular pencil or a pen, markers, and now colored pencils, so we are familiar with holding them and using them. Okay, the care of your colored pencils. You want to be careful with your colored pencils. Don't knock them around too much. Don't, try not to drop them. It tends to break the leads on the inside. And while replacing a regular pencil is one thing, replacing an individual colored pencil is kind of a pain. So to sharpen them, you want to use a regular handheld sharpener. You do not necessarily want to put them in an electric pencil sharpener. It'll grind them down oftentimes too fast, especially those sharpeners in my room. Okay, and again, just be gentle with them as you're doing these. There we go. Just a little bit of point on them. Now, the next step here is pressure. It's one of those things that we do every time we have a new material. Let's make some marks, see what this little guy can do. Scribble around, maybe do a little hatching, all sorts of things. One of the great things about colored pencil is that we can vary the pressure. So if I can do this really, really light here, and then I can gradually get heavier. And I can get really heavy, almost to the point where I've completely covered it. It almost looks a little like crayon on here, and it's that wax that's getting into the paper here. What I'd like you to do is just experiment a little bit. It seems weird. It's like, I've been using colored pencils now for a while. Why do I need to experiment? I want you to experiment and see what this can do. So we've got this light here. I can again get that a little bit darker. I can get that darker still. And then even heavier pressure here. See if you can do this in one pass without layering, without going back over it. And that one got a little too dark right away. The other thing you can experiment with is color. Now, some colors for this process are going to work a lot easier than others. Let's take this golden yellow we've got here compared to that green, and you can probably barely see that until I start getting some heavier pressure going on. Okay, experiment with color. Again, see what these tools can do. Hatching is always nice, some cross hatching is nice, but again, for this one, if you would like to just hatch those values, that's okay. Try not to scribble. I've been working really diligently here to try to not scribble. You know, we don't want this kinds of things. Okay, just go back and forth, just gently. Increase the pressure a little bit. Increase the pressure a little bit further still. And then finally, really dig into that. Okay, and on the other end, if I really want to try and get really light over here. Okay. So right now, you can do this practice on the 9x12 piece of paper. All right. But for a real challenge, grab a 6x9 piece of paper and the colored pencil of your choice over here, something that's going to give you quite a range, and just challenge yourself to see if you can do, what is this? This is black. I don't want black. I'll do this with a blue. What have I got here? I've got violet. Ah, there we go, this blue. And just see if you can get a good even tone. And 5 distinct values. And oddly enough, you may find that getting your lighter values might be more of a challenge than your darker values. We have a quick value scale. We have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 distinct and separate values. Well, now that we have completed a few experiments here, you will do some practice. I want you to use 9x12 drawing paper. I want you to vary the pressure with colored pencils on the page. This practice is important. Also, practice. Find the best colors for creating variation. Don't just try to simply choose one or choose the ones that I've used. Find some that you'd like to work with. And finally, your challenge. Your challenge here is to create a value scale of at least 5 separate values using only varying pressure of the colored pencil. Your values must be at least 1 inch by 1 inch each. And finally, when you are finished, you'll label the back of the paper with your name, class, and date. Stay tuned for more colored pencil basics coming up.